Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, ghouls and goblins, welcome to not a new show, but I want to call it a series. It's going to be called Talking Top Tens. And this, if you're watching this, this is specifically for the members only. So, yes, you are privileged. This is original content that you're getting behind the scenes stuff that we don't really put on the main page, but we do want you guys to see what we're talking about in the Discord because our music tab goes hard. So
Crazy.
I'm Captain Santo. I have my esteemed musical Gnias Miles left with me, and we're just going to be talking about our top 10 influential albums of all time. Have in mind, this is our personal list. This is not a debate. This is not, oh, your list is trash. We're just music lovers talking about music. So without further ado, Miles, first of all, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I just got finished with the zombies Easter egg. That was dope. But I was really looking forward to doing this with Santo. I love music. I feel like in some way, shape, or form, it's kind of molded me into, who I've become today. Different music throughout all different phases of my lifetime have like different levels of significant impact. And I'm excited to talk about it. It's not really something that people don't really care about what influenced you. They want to know about who's the best. So no, it's going to be some refreshing discourse just to be talking about what we love and what makes us who we are, and I'm looking forward to that.
Facts. And music is so subjective because it is one, I call it the best art style on the planet. Me
I
being a
agree.
musician myself, I play multiple instruments. I play keyboard, bass, drums, saxophone, sing a little bit. I don't brag about it, but I do my thing. So
Same. I do a little bit of bass. I did trumpet, and I
let's
sing a little
go.
bit, little something
Hey,
there.
you, s-
Yeah.
you see, and you only gonna get information like this in the membership tier. So we do appreciate you guys. So without further ado, let's talk about our
Let's do
list.
it.
So,
Woo!
what we have here is we brought up 10 albums that molded us or that we always go back to on a random Tuesday. It's hot outside. I need something to put on my headphones. These are go tos. And as you can see, we can start off the list by the one that's highlighted in blue. And it's the only one that we hit on both sides. And it's Hove the Goat with the blueprint. Miles, thoughts? Because this album's amazing.
First of all, because I'm a little bit of a tangent, a little bit. It was so weird to me. So first of all, the Blueprint, my dad's all time favorite album, right? So growing up in the house, this is what he would play. I wasn't really allowed to listen to music much growing up, but if my parents liked it, that's what was played. So the Blueprint was played over and over in my house, and I guess as a kid, I didn't really understand it. I actually grew up being a Jay Z hater. I was a
Mm,
Jay Z hater. Kanye was my goat, and I used to
okay.
do anything I could to malign and slander Jay Z. But I think it was when I turned about 23, 24. A lot of the core themes in the blueprint really started to resonate with me as you lived more life experiences. Songs like Song Cry, songs like that really they hit you on a different kind of level when you're kind of experiencing what he's talking about. To me, the blueprint is the grown man's album. If you're a grown man, you've experienced some life, you're trying to make it out here, the blueprint is literally orchestrated to describe every single aspect of the grown man's life and the grown man's experience. Every single song has a theme you can take away that resonates with grown men. And that's when I kind of flip my talking points, and now Jay Z's my goat. Because it took some maturation to really understand like how legendary this album is. Heart of the City, Izzo, All I Need. The production, crazy. Wordplay and storytelling, crazy. Jay Z was in his fucking bag. I'm a very harsh critic. To me, this album has no skips. I don't see a single song you would skip. I don't even think there's a single song I would call mid or bad. I think every song is great. Every song has a purpose. And yeah, this was Jay Z at his apex to me.
It's funny that you say a grown man's album because I share the same sentiment. Growing up, I'm a little older than the guys. I'm the elder statesman here. I'm 35.
Hmm.
So when Jay-Z was out, I was more of a DMX fan. DMX was that dude. Then this album came up. And up to this day, I tell everybody Jay-Z's greatest song is Song Cry.
It is.
It's it's not even in my opinion, and again, this is all everybody's opinion, everybody's entitled to it, but for me, Song Cry's content, just the pocket that he does, the content that he's talking about. Jay-Z comes from this brag, this swag, this rich swag flex type thing, and then he hits you with Song Cry. I it's so and that's what sold it for me for this album because we got the Reasonable Doubt, which is great by the way, but this album showed a different in beat selections. He started singing. I mean, when Girls came out, I was like, okay, this dude's different. And
Yeah,
even the last track on the album, it's Girls Part 2, and they're singing off key. And I'm a musician and I do not mind it. This
it's fire.
album is fire. And I mean, I understand Kanye, what you said about Kanye, because yes, Kanye is phenomenal.
Hmm.
But I agree with you. This album took Jay Z to a different stratosphere for
It
me.
did. It did. Nah, I totally agree. And yeah, this is when it started really becoming apparent to me. Jay Z may not dibble dabble into like being melodic or singer, anything like that, but that's not all versatility is limited to, right?
Hmm.
And being able to hop in and out of these pockets on these different types of beats that we're not really accustomed to, especially in that early 2000s transition, he really kind of pioneered a lot of what we heard later in the 2000s. And not a lot of people want to give him the credit for that. Um, you know, not necessarily on this album, but going forward, doing rock style things, more pop style things. He
Hmm.
really showed that it was okay to play on a non traditional beat and get it done. And I think Song Cry is a perfect example of that. That sample, Jesus Christ.
It's insane. There's a song called "The Blueprint," and I listened to that because the beginning of the track is just literally just drums, nothing else, just him. It sounds like he's just freestyling in a booth with just a drum sample, nothing behind it, and he just goes in. And I'm telling you, if you haven't heard this album and you just want some good music to listen to that ages well, because that's one thing I will say about this album over a couple others that he has. This album, I think, to me, ages well out of all of them. I mean, yes,
I agree.
444 is going to be doing that later on, but right now, I think his best aging album is The Blueprint.
I agree. And this is going to be like a jumbled up thought because I haven't thought it out clearly. I feel like the Blueprint is the album that gets you into the mindset of where Jay Z was at in the 444. I think it leads to one leads to another. Because, like I said, growing up, the Blueprint, I didn't, it was always good, but I didn't really understand it.
Hmm.
When I started to grow up is when you really get that understanding, and that's when I feel like it matures you into a 444 where you're able to reflect on more serious things, where you're able to take a step back and really realize how far you've come and who you've hurt, how you've grown, what changed you, what your vices are, things like that. I think without a blueprint, he would have never got to that point. Um, like I said, Jay Z's my goat. He number one. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's sounding a lot like Jay Z Glaze, but I mean, I have him as the goat as well. I'm sorry, I don't even think it's close at this point. Anyways, but let's move on. Let's move on because literally it sounds like we can stay here all day. Um, so number two on your list. Now it's gonna deviate. So Miles, talk about late registration Kanye West.
So late registration is not really the album in the trilogy that I feel is the most respected. People are usually graduation or their
Mhm.
college dropout. This one kind of gets glossed over. Like I said, growing up, I wasn't really able to listen to music that I wanted to. The Blueprint was my dad's favorite album. Late Registration was my mom's favorite album. So this was the
Interesting.
album that was yes. So this was the album that was always bumped by my mom. Long car rides, Late Registration, and I think it's very underappreciated. I think that you know, we talk about Jay Z taking chances on the different beats. Kanye took different chances on the style of beats he was trying to create.
Mhm.
Songs like Roses. And I also think that he was a lot more personal. Songs like Hey Mama, songs like Gold Digger, they weren't just songs where he's talking about just they're not meant to be hits. He's talking about real experiences. Is it going to match up to something where he's talking like a Through the Wire where he's talking about his jaw being shut? Maybe not, but it holds a lot of special places in my heart. Hey Mama, Touch the Sky. He was doing a lot of different things on this album that I feel like get overshadowed by the other two in the trilogy. I think LR is great. I think there are a couple of misses, but I think its high notes are Diamonds from Sierra Leone. You got the version with and without Jay Z. They both fucking go insane. Uh,
I
I think it needs more love.
I mean, I think I mean, by the way, I have to say that this God, a lot of this is gonna sound like glaze for a lot of these artists, but I mean, because they're our favorites. But in my personal opinion, this 3 album run by Kanye is maybe top 3 from artists in the hip hop genre.
Hmm.
It may be top 3 greatest runs. I like everybody goes back into we miss this Kanye. This is the Kanye. Yes, he does produce right now at an elite level sonically, but here in this era of Kanye, you had a level of precision with beats with the uniqueness of what he was doing because he was adding choirs and he was adding melodic sounds, different synths to hip hop, and that was something that was not happening. So he was really one of the pioneer. I call him the Quincy Jones of hip hop because
Nice.
I hold him into the I mean, R.I.P. Quincy Jones, but I literally have him in that level of regard. I think his ear is something that should be studied. I mean, he is a genius when it comes to music, chord progression, dynamics and music, even to song placement on the album. Like it tells a story. He does a great job. I personally don't think it's the best, like how you said it, and I agree with you. But it does have, I mean, touch the skies on this album, bro. Bro. I
Heard him
mean,
say he had a pop star come through and sing his hook. Like he
yeah.
was doing a lot.
Like even Jamie Foxx up to this day talks about how Gold Digger came about, and for somebody to tell someone like as talented as Jamie Foxx, like, hey, the way you're doing it sounds like trash. Do it this way. Like, like who does that? Like
It's something only
somebody brand new into the game because I mean, yes, he's worked with different artists and whatnot, but at this point,
sure.
he is a new he's a new person, and for
As
him
far as
to
making his own music and establishing
exact
himself, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
he's new, and for him to be able to have that level of conviction in his art and like this is what I want to do, this is what exactly what I wanted to sound like, and you're going to execute it this way because I am not deviating. I believe in this project so much that this is how we're going to do it. And to get something like that, I mean, that's my favorite track of the album. To get
Mhm.
something like that, it was to me that at that point in time in my life, I had not seen someone tell an artist of that caliber, of that talent, hey, you're doing it wrong, do it this way. from somebody that's considered a new person, that was unfathomable. And album's great.
Nah, for sure. Last thing I want to add, it was also kind of the mark of Kanye kind of using. What I want to say is he transferred more into using computerized beats. He started getting more heavily into FL Studio, things like that. The
Hmm.
computerization of things. Whereas I feel like Late Registration was the last time we heard him actually use a lot of live instrumentation. You touched on the choir, but we got songs like We Major, those opening trumpets.
Hmm.
He did a lot of things that made this album seem very regal and very grand.
Hmm.
This is the Late Registration. You late, but you made it. And I feel like a lot of the instrumentation he used kind of signaled that. And to speak on his confidence, even throughout time, we've kind of seen his ability has waned. It's fair to say that the ear, it's always remained. He hasn't lost a step when it comes to producing. He knows what a good track sounds like, and what I love the most about Kanye West is that he's always maintained his own individual sound. There's another person on my list that I that matches that, but when I hear a Kanye West beat, I know it's him,
You know it.
right?
Yep.
And it's not about them sounding the same. It's not about an 808 or a synth or a drum pattern being the same like a Tay Keith or a producer like that. You there's something about how they sonically put their pieces together. I know it's Kanye. The other person on that list being Tyler the Creator, we'll get to him. But when
Hmm.
I hear a Tyler beat, I know it's Tyler. I don't have
Yeah.
to check. I don't have to look up a genius. I know who it is. And I think that's something really special that not a lot of artists, let alone producers, are able to capture. But I see In Sync up there, my brother.
Okay, so let's get into it. Again, I I consider myself very diverse. I listen to everything. The only style of music that I really don't get into at all because I don't get it is polka music. I just can't do it. It's
Ooh,
just not for me. It's like
ooh.
y'all got it. But yes, I grew up in the era of the boy bands, the Backstreet
Hmm.
Boys, the NSYNCs, the 98 Degrees, the Westlifes, the New Kids on the Block. Yes, yes, I am old. But this album, this album to me solidified it because I love I love vocals. And what changed what attracted me to the group NSYNC was the fact that yes, it was a boy band. Everybody had five members, unless it's like the 98 Degrees or whatnot. They had what, four, I think. Um, and everybody had the same three-part harmony. Everybody had a lead, everybody had a tenor, and everybody had an alto. NSYNC changed the game when they introduced a bass singer and a soprano. The level of harmonies that they would hit in this album, I don't think Backstreet Boys can touch. I don't think 98 Degrees can touch. I don't think what was Westlife can touch. I don't think O Town can touch. The only group that was getting close to this, not even close. The only group that was better was Boys to Men. And
Yeah.
that's just me. I mean, it's not even close. But what got me to this, it was, yes, it was the Bye 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 song. Yes, I was there. It wasn't cool to listen to it, but yes, I had the CD. I had the CD player in my bag. I didn't show it to nobody, but when I was home, I was banging to No Strings Attached. This I Promise You. Oh, they showed me how to sing to girls. They showed me how to write poems, all of that stuff to step your game up in the dating field. This was the album that got me there. What do you think, Miles? I want to hear about you. I want to hear if you were a secret NSYNC fan. I'm just saying.
I'm not the biggest In Sync fan. I'm not gonna lie to you, but
Okay.
Bye 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 is an undisputed certified banger. I think everybody knows that.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter age, race, gender, or otherwise. You know that song. And I like what they stood for. Boy bands had their place. I'm sad they're kind of gone. But they were definitely titans in the game during their time, for sure, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that was just me. Like I said, I love music. We all do, and this group just really stood out. I have two sisters, and my older sister was a Backstreet Boy fan, so just instantly I had to go against her. So I went with NSYNC, and we would have the versus battles. Oh, this started way before. We would go CD for CD, and we would put it into the house stereo, and we would have to like pause it. Okay, switch the CD around, hit play. Let me play my track now, and then you go. And then our little brothers and sisters would pick which song was better. Oh yeah, we were doing all of that. But yeah, I had a good time.
Y'all were a
I had
fun
a good time.
bunch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
y'all were
were doing too
fun.
much.
Yeah.
We were doing too much. So, all right, Miles, take us into the next one on the list.
So we got Camp by my boy Childish Gambino, another one of his more underrated albums. I feel like people talk about 3005. I feel like that's probably his most popular. And then Awaken My Love that contains the hit song Redbone. Everybody loves that song. My favorite thing about Childish in general, and I feel like he really magnifies in Camp, he's one of the most vulnerable like artists I've ever got to encounter. He's very open with his fans, with everyone about how he feels, how his life was shaped, the different dynamics he went through. And what made this album so special to me is a lot of the themes that he represented, even though for not the same reasons, I could kind of resonate with, right? So a lot of this album he talks about his struggles of, um getting along with other black people based off of his views, a lot of his hobbies, and how he always just didn't fit that mold. And growing up, it came at a pretty convenient time because I was feeling that way. I was an anime fan like you before this shit was popular.
Hmm.
Getting called nerd because of it, not really being able to have as many people to speak. There were people to speak about it with, of course, but we were the outcasted bunch. People were into sports, people were into music. Skating was still big back then. There was just a whole bunch of different niches that anime was to the wayside, so you were kind of looked at weird because of that. I speak pretty well, right? I'm very
Hmm.
articulate. I can switch into different modes, but that's often looked down upon, right? The whole "you talk white" stigma. I like Childish Gambino because he wasn't afraid to attack these things head on, and not only did he do it through funny wordplay and things like that, because I think he's a very underrated lyricist. He showed us, hey, I can sing too. There's a lot of songs here where he's singing. He's having features. He's keeping up with his features that are only there to sing. He really showcased a lot of his diversity and a lot of his talent, and that's why I often say he's one of the most talented people alive, just because of the amount of different lanes and avenues he's able to occupy. Very good live instrumentation here. We got a well, not accordion. What's the harmonica? That's what I'm thinking of.
Hmm.
We got harmonica, we got guitar, we got the keys. He's doing a lot of that himself. And again, the subject matter. Um, I like vulnerable music. It doesn't have to be emotional. Usually that comes with it. But when people can be honest with themselves on the main stage and turn it into a medium of art, they'll always get those extra bonus points from me. And Camp is just that album that does it.
So I really didn't tap into Childish Gambino until later on. So I
Mhm.
definitely have to go back into this. I mean, of course, I know Redbone. Redbone's great because it's so different. Like he's a lot like Tyler. He's a lot like Tyler, but in a different way. He like you said, he's very vulnerable, but in the way that he does it in a pretty way. Tyler does it in a more destructive, kind of like obscure type way.
Like a
Like
jagged knife. Like you just,
yeah,
yeah.
like so if Tyler is like a prison shank, Childish Gambino is like a chef's knife. Like it's clean. Like his music is polished. That's what I appreciate from him. Like
Mhm.
my favorite work that Childish has done was the Keisha Cole, the "I'm So Into You," the
Yeah.
cover. Like I listen to
Yeah.
that like maybe like once or twice a month, just because
Yeah.
I like the girl that plays on keys, and also his voice is so weird. Like his falsetto is great. I'm not saying like he's so amazingly vocal, but he has gifting. Like there's a difference between being talented and being gifted. And he has that. He has a gift. Like you hear him sing or you hear him do something and he instantly grabs your attention. He's one of those artists and I appreciate that from him. So I'll definitely be tuning into this album going forward. As I saw your list when you sent it to me, I'm like, I don't know about this person. I don't know, maybe I need to check out this album again or whatnot. This is definitely one that I'm going to go back to, most definitely.
Um, it's amazing. Now I will say there are a lot of bars that are kind of uh black and white music. Now, nigga,
Yeah.
that's a mixtape. A lot of off the wall, brand new whips for these niggas like slavery. He's saying what he mean.
Hmm.
And it's funny. And then there's also some things like there's a song called LES, right? He's from Georgia, but a lot of
Okay.
his career he made in New York. That song, if you live in New York, it's the most relatable. You know everything he's talking about, all the locations he brings up. Point being, there's something everywhere, something for someone everywhere. And I like how he uses the concept of a camp to tell us that humans are not a monolith, right?
Hmm.
This album tells a story, and we're not gonna all be the same, and that's okay. I think it has one of the best outros in any album I've ever listened to, and that power. I often tell people when they listen to this album, start there so you can really
Okay.
understand the purpose of this album. He uses camp, going there, interacting with people to tell a story about how we're not all the same, and that's fine, and we can move forward and live with that, and we can make connections despite that. And that's why I love this album so much compared to his other stuff. Gambino's my guy. I love you.
And you know what? And before we move on, adding one last thing, I miss that about albums. I miss the story. Like that's why I really appreciated Tyler's new album because
Yeah.
it's a solid story. Like from beginning to end, we're starting here and we're ending here, and we're just going straight through. Like instead of just putting hits or songs that we think are good and just putting them on an album, like I miss a curated story from beginning to end.
Hmm.
And this is what it sounds like, what this album sounds like. It is that type of album, so I'm definitely going to check it out.
For sure. Let's get into
So
that Eminem, man.
yeah, so Mr. Let Me Get Cancelled Eminem. By the way, his new album's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. But this
It
one
is.
is the one. This one is the one that got it for me. I'm not the biggest lyrical miracle fan. I
Yeah.
personally say that Eminem is so great at art at rap that it kind of almost comes off as annoying that he's that
Yeah.
good. That's just my opinion, but this album to me showed, yes, he was politically incorrect per se. But I like the fact that he showed that he was very unafraid at this time because this is new. Like, I mean, what we're having now is like, okay, we're already used to this type of person, and everybody wanted this version of Slim Shady to come back in this time. But this was the origin story. This was the album. I mean,
Hmm.
songs like White America, Square Dance. Cleaning Out My Closet to me is the favorite my favorite album in I mean my favorite song in this album. The way that I got into Eminem was through like goofy comedy, shock value, whatnot. And then Cleaning Out My Closet came out. And I was like, okay, let me let me really listen to what he's saying. And he sold me a ticket. Like it was aside from just the musical ability. Yes, you can rhyme orange, sure. But now like you're showing me things about your childhood. You're showing me things about your parents and what happened, and you're doing it in a way that you're not bragging about it. You're just showing it to your audience. And I appreciate that. And it sold me a ticket, man. It sold me a ticket.
Nah, I felt that. I was never the biggest Eminem fan, but he was always someone that at least garnered my respect. Not only because of his lyrical ability. We all know that. To me, he stands almost alone in that regard. There's very few that can hold a candle to him in that regard. But the same thing I said about Childish Gambino, Eminem is very vulnerable. And like Tyler, that more so jagged knife. But it wasn't, to me, the difference between him and Tyler, I feel like Tyler was doing it for the shock value itself, where Eminem
Mhm.
is like, "No, this is how this shit is really impacting me. This is how I feel." And that's why I always give him the nod to that, because he didn't care. He didn't care what people thought about it. He didn't care how it sounded. I'm getting this shit off. I'm being real about what I'm going through, and this is it. You like it or you don't. And I feel like a lot of fans resonated with it and they liked it. I think Eminem's overhated. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan. I'm actually planning on going back soon and listening to all this stuff so I can have a more accurately informed opinion on him. But Eminem's a goat. Sorry. And that new album, that shit was fire.
It was great. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed his new album. I also think he's one of the greatest technical. I mean, he might be low key the best technical rapper
Yeah,
of all time. Like no
yeah,
one really does what he does at that level. Like it's not just
yeah.
about rapping fast or rapping a bunch of words together. No, it's the metaphors, the similes, the pronunciation, the dynamics, the raising your voice here, bringing your voice down, making something a joke and then getting serious at the same time. Like he's him.
Yeah,
He really is him. I mean, overall
sure.
package aside, I mean, me personally, aside from being overly lyrical, miracle at times, and also, yes, it's true. I do have to knock him for beat selection at times because his beats sometimes are complete dog water. But he's great. He's great.
Yeah, Eminem's great for
All right.
sure, and I mean he shows it. He hopped on these tracks with some of these other legends; they can't keep up. He's left Jay Z, he's left Nicki, left Drake, left Wayne. He's left everybody on a song. It is what it is. Goats are goats.
So you are of the camp that he washed Jay Z on Renegade.
He how
I'm
listen.
asking. People have this discussion. I'm just asking.
Santo. I tell people all the time the truth can never be denied. It's the truth. And that doesn't Jay-Z did his thing. It doesn't mean Jay-Z was whack. But there's levels to this shit, man. And Eminem, when I felt like when Eminem was on somebody else's track, I'm trying to murder you. I'm sorry. We're buddies. I'm trying to murder you. I need to show people that I'm the best. And he always did. It is what it is, man.
The reason I was asking because I'm glad I'm not in that camp alone. Yes, Eminem washed Jay Z on that track. Great track, but there was clearly a number one and there was clearly a number two.
It
So,
was. And you can use whatever cope to justify it, but it was Eminem.
all right. So tell me about this next choice.
Weezer. Weezer's Them Boys, man. While I don't think this is their best album, I think that's reserved for Pinkerton. I think the Blue album is what established a lot of the. Oh, you agree?
Oh
I
yeah.
think the Blue album is the album that ushered in a lot of these. I want to call punk bands that we see rock a lot of the 2000s. Bands like the Killers, bands like Jimmy Eat World, um, Panic to a certain degree, Green Day, all of them. I feel like they take a lot from Weezer. Weezer was the first, to me, boy bandish group that showed that yeah, we can make punk style music, but we can make hits. They got Buddy Holly, Say It Ain't So, My Name Is Jonas. They knew what they were doing. Um, Guitar skills at an all-time high. I think that's the one thing that they improved on compared to Pinkerton. I don't know if it was more time practicing. I don't know what they did, but I felt like everybody was on a different page when it came to um, how they were working the instrumentation. Drums were great. A lot more guitar solos, which I think needed to kind of highlight how good they were at the guitar, because I felt for a long time they were just the guys that can sing and not really do much else. Um, this album was introduced to me by one of my Mexican homeboys. I used to get babysitted by this guy named Miguel, and he's the one that kind of put me onto rock, other than my granddad. But yeah, this was his favorite album of all time. He kind of passed it on to me. I know all these songs by heart, sing them word for word. And like I said, not the best, but my personal favorite, sure. And I do think it's their most influential. I think this is the album they're most remembered by. They recently had a tour where they're touring this album again. I went to the tour at Madison Square Garden. Um, yeah, definitely an iconic album. I think Weezer is definitely underappreciated in that more garage band style genre. Yeah, I fuck with Weezer.
Yeah, I Weezer, man. So when I was growing up, it was if you were into the grunge punk rock, um, against the establishment type. Yes, you had your
Hmm.
Nirvanas and all of that, but after it was this little area of music that was you you had your Avril Lavigne's, you had, everybody wanted to put on the black nail polish, your skull t-shirt, whatnot. And for me, at least in my section, because I grew up in the Virgin Islands, and for us, we had it was two bands. It was either Sum 41 or it
Yep.
was Weezer. So
Hmm.
I was more of a Sum 41 fan, but Weezer, I definitely see that they really did pioneer a lot of that genre of music. Your Fallout Boys, your Green Days, your Panics, all of that
Yes.
stuff. Oh, and by the way, and shout out Blink 182 because they were also in that little genre and stuff. Weezer,
Hmm.
I love the fact that Weezer really didn't care about getting popular. Like
No.
they were always that, like, we're just gonna give you good music, and if you vibe with it, you vibe with it. If you don't, just leave us alone. We'll just keep doing our thing. And I really appreciated that from them. I do think their other album is a little bit better in terms of quality. I think they threw in a little bit more money into that other album versus this one. Um,
Hmm.
but I still can appreciate what Weezer did for the genre of this style of rock, which unfortunately we really don't see a lot of it in the mainstream now because the way the music industry is now. It's
Hmm.
more towards like stream and whatnot. Everything was mainstream back then to a certain extent, and I'm glad that Weezer, even to this day, has a loyal fan base. And
Yeah.
by the way,
Uh,
shout out, by the way, shout out Miguel for showing you that.
yeah. Miguel, you the goat. My boy Miguel Perez. We still keep in touch. Even though I'm a grown man now. Yeah. Shout out to you, bro. And not even just them. He's keeping me up to date with some of these more punk bands. I want to give a shout out to Wild Sleep. Really good punk band for anybody looking for some punk. Based out of New York. Check them out. I want to get into Off the Wall because I have a hot take though, Santo. I got a hot take.
Okay, okay, okay.
But I
Should I?
want you to explain. I want
Okay.
no go first, but I'm gonna
Uh,
tell you the hot take at the end.
so, if there was anyone, and I'm gonna tie this to anime because we are an anime channel. If there was anyone in this planet that you would say had conquerors hockey, this is that guy.
For
This
sure.
is that guy. Off the Wall, to me, is the best Michael Jackson album.
That's the
That's
hot take.
that's me.
Santo, that's it. I agree.
You agree? Okay, so we
I
on the
do.
same page. Don't stop till you get enough. Rock with you. Working day and night, get on the floor. Just those four. I do know, and I know, and I get this, and I have to say this up. Yes, Prince is a better artist than Michael. Yes, artistry.
Yes.
Michael was different. Back to what I was saying between talent and gift. Prince could play every instrument, he could sing, he had aura, sure. Michael could sing, and he had a little bit extra in the tank when it comes to gifting. You could, when he would sing, when he would dance, you could tell like he is created, he is meant to do this. This and also shout out Quincy Jones, by the way, because he produced the majority of these albums. The the level of musicality of being able to stay pocket. That is one of the things I appreciate about Michael Jackson. Yes, he has different melodies and whatnot, but a lot of the times, especially being a drummer, a lot of the drum patterns, drum beats, drum breaks weren't crazy. He wasn't trying to wow you with a lot of things, but he would give you a groove and you would just stick to it. And this album for me solidified Michael as the king of pop. I mean, I wish I would have grown up watch like being there present while he was on his rise, not just towards the back end. Because yes, I did love Rock with You. I'm not Rock with You. You Rock My World, and that album is amazing in itself. But this was when Michael was at his peak, and the album shows. And I
Mhm.
think, and like you said, and I'm glad you agree because I think this is the best Michael Jackson album of all time.
No, I completely agree, and I think it's the album where everything clicked for him. This is where he figured out, this is my formula. This is how I'm gonna go forward. He started taking his own into the more anthem style music, songs like "Off the Wall," songs like "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough." You know, those are anthems. When we think of "Single Ladies," "The Star Spangled Banner," those are anthems. But for moving your body, grooving. Off the Wall is an anthem for the working man. Um, he figured it out here. I feel like his writing ability is at his best because while you can make an anthem, I feel like a lot of his later work became a lot more shouty, a lot more repetitive. He was taking less chances and doing a little bit less. Whereas here, no, I feel like vocal ability, he was still at the tippity top. This was before he started ruining his voice with the yelling. Writing, he had it. Dancing, he had it. Quincy was in his bag, matched his aura perfectly. I think Off the Wall is the I'm sorry, Thriller fans. I think it's better. It is.
It
I'm
is.
sorry. Even the deeper cuts, songs like Girlfriend, like these are one of one generational songs. Girlfriend's one of my favorite songs of all time. And it's this nice, simple, slow bop. I think people need to revisit Off the Wall. My homie Trent, check him out. I revisited Off the Wall with him because when I first heard him that take, he was kind of taken aback. When you stop looking at albums more so for the hits and you just listen to the quality of music and also take into account the phases of their life that they were in and how mature I take maturation in music very seriously because when you have an artist drop one album they have to go somewhere with that. So he didn't just get the Thriller waking up and making Thriller. Every album that came prior to that shaped that. So when you have an
Mhm.
album that precedes that and you see how good that is, he took Off the Wall and he ran with it to make Thriller.
Mhm.
Without Off the Wall, there's no Thriller. So I feel like Off the Wall has to get the edge. Um I'm surprised you put it there. Shout out Mike. Rest in peace Quincy. They had them
Mhm.
one. They knew that was a 10 out of 10 album. They knew.
I agree, and I think like you said, without Off the Wall, you don't get a Thriller, you don't get an Escape, you don't get these albums because at that point, after this album and seeing how great of a talent and as of gifting this guy has, I don't he could have put out anything and it would have hit at this point. That's why I give this
Yeah,
album much more credit because this was the one. This was the one to establish everything after
yeah.
he's already established, he's already the king of pop, he's already doing all of this. And like I said, he could have put out anything and it would have just worked because he does have conquerors hockey. I mean, and I'll
Yeah.
I'll get into it when we get to my Chris Brown take because I have something I have a little
Oh
bit
boy.
of a I don't want to say it's a hot take, but I need to get some things straight with the Chris Brown fans. So
Mhm.
queue up the next one for me because I don't know who
So
this is.
every single person in their lifetime has gone through a breakup. When Santo brought this list to me, The main thing I was worried about, I was like, what album am I gonna choose to signify how little lover boy Miles got over his first breakup?
Okay.
This album is the quintessential apex breakup album. It's Boo Boo by my boy Toro y Moi. He's done some work with Kanye West. He's done some work with Travis Scott. He's more so on the alternative side of things. Not as famous, but enough to where he's able to make a living and support himself. This album, when I'm talking like ethereal pop, very airy, very light music. He's not There are some songs where it's very fast paced, very upbeat, but for the most part, very somber, very light music. And yeah, he's vulnerable. Asking this girl, what is it gonna take for me to get what does a guy like me have to do to get with a girl like you? How am I gonna make this shit work? Again, very vulnerable album. Uh he's being open about himself, being open about the relationship at its time. And it's the album that first introduced me into this whole different alt side of music, I feel, that isn't like alt rock or like alt pop, but something entirely different. It's almost like house music in a sense. He was
Okay.
originally a house artist. This was his first step into pop. It's like house pop. I can't even describe it. It's not Kate Trinata like, but it's its own entire thing. Um, Very very light music, and I think he pioneered bands like the Marias, who followed that kind
Okay.
of step into making ethereal, more airy type of music. And he's still going. This came out in 2017. I guarantee if you went through a breakup and you listen to this, you'll resonate with everything he's talking about. It's the breakup album. The
Okay.
breakup album.
Okay. I'm gonna check it out. I literally just put it down on my phone. I'm gonna check it out as soon as we finish with this podcast because literally I've never even heard of this. I've never
Yeah,
even.
he's a low key guy. And the album wasn't received. I'm not gonna say it wasn't received well, but it just wasn't popular. But I like it because it's a breakup album in the lens of it's not all my partner's fault. He talks about how his ego got in the way, how he should have matured faster or realized certain things, how family can influence how your relationship works. He touches into everything, and it made me kind of take a step back. 2017, 19-year-old Miles, who it's
Mhm.
all me, 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 and I had to reflect on what I did wrong, how I assess situations differently. It's an album that really gets the brain churning while also still having a lot of grooves and bops. It's really good.
Okay. Well, I guess this would be what I call a hidden gem from Miles. So if you are watching this, go check it out because I'm gonna do the same.
Please,
All right. So
let's
moving
talk about
on.
Wayne.
Wayne. Wheezy. Okay. I do have to
Episode
preface this,
phenomenal.
and this Wayne is a goat. Wayne
Hmm.
is so weird as an artist for me because and hear me out. And at this point in my life, I like hip hop for me was very stereotypical. I wanted to
Hmm.
be cool. I wanted to, we want to look hard. Pause. No Diddy. But but we want to have a type of swag. We want to look like I want my rap to sound like DMX. I want my rap to swag like a Jay-Z. I want my rap to sound like Kanye. Like I want that level of quality. To me, the Carter 3 is a weird album cuz if you're talking from a curator's perspective, it doesn't make sense listing wise. It's not a cool listen. It's like okay, we're high, we're vibing, and then we're like mellow, and then we're like mid tempo, and then we're like low again, and then we're hype. I'm like, it's a roller coaster. But if we're talking about content of what he's rapping about, if we are talking about pockets, if we're talking about him not just discovering his voice and what to do with it. Just him experimenting with a lot of things. He did that in this album. Like he goes from being you have your anthems, you have your lollipops, you have all of this, and you work with Kanye. Okay, now I'm gonna work with Robin Thicke. I'm like, what? Like, is this what we're doing? Like, he goes from that. He's working with Busta Rhymes, and he's there with him. Like, I'm like, okay, now you're just showing off that you're multifaceted at this point. And it just showed me, because I mean, we've all heard the mixtapes, and he's great, and he's, it's grungy, it's dirty, but it's solid. He's just phenomenal, great lyricist, all that. But now it's in a project, and I think this for me is his biggest classic because of his versatility.
I agree wholeheartedly. I feel like the Carter 3 is when he first showed us, because before, to me, Eminem was a little bit of a mixtape merchant. Um, take that as you will. I felt like his studio albums really didn't hold up to the rest of his catalog, and that's why I always had him behind some of the other artists. And the mixtapes were what was used to bridge that gap. This was the first studio album where I felt, okay, he can do this. When I first heard that Bobby Valentino, that
Oh,
ooh
crazy.
ooh ooh,
Like,
yeah yeah
yeah.
yeah, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, the amount of risk, the amount of chances. He understood, yes, I need to come with my own sound and do what I do, but I need to also find a way to shake this up and bring more listeners in. And I feel like he hit it right on the fucking head. As far as albums are concerned, to me, bar none, this is his best album. It's
Mhm.
his best album to me. He really understood what he needed to do. He had a job to do. He completed it with flying colors. I think he picked the right features to complement him. Like, he had a song with Fab. Fab was another Titan at the time. They did their thing together. He had
Mhm.
Jewels on there, Jay Z. Like I said, Bobby V. That's my favorite song, Miss Officer.
Mhm.
I said Eminem. Lil Wayne, he got it. This is it. Now outside of that, I'm gonna hate on him for a little bit. He
Okay.
showed us he could make one. He never showed us he could do it again. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is about dedicated albums that he had an issue with, but I felt like he could just never piece it together properly ever again. But this one, he did his thing.
Yeah, it's so weird going from an album like this, that you can show that you can put a lot of tracks together, and it works, and you have hits, you have smashes, you have anthems, you have hidden gems or whatnot. And then going forward, it's it just doesn't come together. Like, there'll be like one-offs here and there. You have like an album comes out, and you hear Mona Lisa, and you're like, oh my goodness, like, this is great storytelling. And then after that, like, okay, you can skip the rest of the album. And yeah, I mean, coming from a
Yeah, it's
goat,
like
that's kind of hard to hear. But like, yeah, you can literally go to Mona Lisa, hear that song, and then just kind of move.
you can
Yep.
keep this, brother.
Yeah, that's just me. I mean, he is a goat. One thing I will say about the album that I will have to knock it for. I mean, like, over 25 tracks. Like, we ain't got time for that. But it was a different time. But I will still say this is by far his greatest album.
I agree.
All right, so
Um,
here we go. Because I like this guy. I like this guy.
so this, boys and girls, this was my Eminem, right?
Okay.
Um, But throughout the course of this list, you guys have heard me mention maturation a lot, a lot, a lot. To me, that matters. I liked Goblin. I liked Bastard. I like how visceral he was with it. I like how he was willing to say, anything, kill people, grind shit, fuck school. He didn't care. I liked all of it. But for me, it was the one, is he going to sit back and reflect and grow from all of this? And I think Wolf is when we got to really see that Tyler was going to be the Titan that we see him at now. I feel like rapping ability, he was at, I'm not going to say his best, but rapping ability is when he finally pieced together, understood the route he wanted to go. I feel like by this time he'd already developed his sound fully and knew which direction he wanted to go with that. And we saw that in Cherry Bomb and then Eager by extension. I just like how I'm a sucker for vulnerable music. When he's talking about Mama got the Rover in the range, like he made this shit off angsty anger music, being emotional with his fans, saying what everybody felt, and letting us know that it didn't matter what color you were. I like boundary pushing music. My problem with Eminem is I felt like, yeah, he was angsty and all that stuff, but a lot of the themes and stuff he represented I couldn't really resonate with. Whereas I feel with Tyler is a lot more relatable to me. Um, just his perspective on a whole lot of different things, but seeing that shift is what mattered to me. I think Wolf had some of his best rap songs of that era on it. Songs like Colossus, which was an ode to Eminem's Stan, I thought was done very, very well. Um, he has a 10-minute song called Party's Never Over, Campfire Beamer. It's one of the best songs I've ever heard. It has one of the best Frank Ocean features I've ever heard. And I also love that he kept his friends along with him for that ride as well. We got features from Mike G, features from Frank, from Earl, from Nakel Smith, skateboarders. Everybody was on there. He had posse cuts. This was him really showing that Odd Future's more than just a rowdy group of individuals, but I can round us together and I can make a worthwhile project behind it while also showing people that I do have the potential to grow and that this isn't just about shock value. This is about who we are and what we represent. And this is how they gained a lifelong Odd Future Tyler Creator fan. This is the album that solidified it to me. Songs like Cowboy, Rusty. Rusty might be one of my favorite songs of all time. He's tackling some crazy shit in there. Saying I hate gays, even though Frank is on 10 of my songs. He touched the whole Satan and Illuminati thing. He hit pretty much everything people wondered about in this album and then said, okay, let me close this chapter out. That's the most important thing to me. He went through everything he went through. He used this album to not over reflect. He closed the chapter and then he matured, and we saw it with this last string of albums that he's been putting out. I think he's on a crazy album run right now. And I think that first trilogy of albums, Wolf obviously being the ender, contributed to that.
So I like how you said that this is your version of Eminem, and they are it's so crazy how similar they are, but in the same vein, be completely different. Because
Yeah.
in my opinion, I have Eminem as being someone that goes for the shock value. How uncomfortable can I make you with what I say? And that's, to me,
Hmm.
that's the intention I get from that. From
Hmm.
Tyler, I don't get that that is the purpose of the way he does things and the way he expresses himself. I'm like,
Right.
this is just me, take it or leave it. I'm not doing this to make you uncomfortable. This is literally legit how I feel, and this is how I express things. I am not the normal kid. I am awkward. I am socially awkward. I am very direct. I'm aggressive and whatnot. And in his music, like you get that from beat selections, from the different, from just the his wordplay, from the way that at times he's so aggressive in the way that he verbalizes his lyrics. But even throughout all of that, you could still sense, and this is something that differentiates him and Eminem. Throughout all of it, you can still sense a level of vulnerability that he has in his music, and I gravitate towards that. Like this album that he just did, to me, this is just me. That is my favorite Tyler album. Chromacopia
Hmm.
is that type of album because it
Yeah.
hit every aspect of what I like in music, musicianship, in chord progression, in lyrics, in melodies, musical instruments. I heard a baritone, tuba, French horn, just all like what? Like what are we doing? Like you just wanted to show out at this point. Like, and I appreciate that because it's also live instruments. It's not like, yes, he does have synths and whatnot, but all those other things are live instruments, and he's writing, he's composing. Like it just hit me. This album here, I will say, seeing from where he was, I mean, seeing where he is and to where he was in Wolf, I this album made me appreciate where Tyler was. Like it's like watching the prequel and you enjoy it because you know where it's going.
Yeah,
That's to me why I enjoy Wolf now. Cuz I personally after I heard Chromacopia I was like, "Oh my goodness, like I love this guy. Like this is he's him." And it made me go back into all the just listening to like Igor and now listening to 48 and Colossus and all that. I'm like, this is the same guy. And you can still see the same character just in a different light now, but he's him. He's him back there. So seeing it's like we're anime fans. It's like watching the
yeah.
beginning of an anime or seeing the ending of the anime and then loving the ending and going back to the beginning and just seeing I love it, man. It was great.
You're hitting it on the head. It's almost like Tyler realized, like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to do a Chromacopia or Igor, but right now I'm only a level 20. I need to get to level 40 before I can get there. And I feel like with every phase, you can see the levels, and he's like, okay, I'm at this stage of my career now. Let me give them a little bit more of what I know I can do. And he
Mhm.
just more, more, more. He's one of the few artists to me, he gets better with every project. Every single
You know what?
project, he gets better.
I agree. I have to agree. Like I didn't. I like you said that. I really didn't think about that. You know, that would be an interesting list to bring up as well for a future video. But yeah, I have to agree. Every album kind of like levels up.
Yeah, he's like, I have this in the tank. I just can't show it to y'all yet, right? And it'll almost be like he'll use one album as a precursor, and then the next one it'll be perfected. I started really starting to get that vibe. Goblin, Wolf. I was like, he leveled up from Goblin. He took what
Mhm.
Goblin gave us, refined it. Cherry Bomb, Igor. He showed us what Igor should be, gave us the little rumblings. It was a little raw in Cherry Bomb. Some of it was a little hard to listen
Mhm.
to. Igor mastered it. Or, Flower Boy then Igor mastered it. And I feel that same way with Call Me If You Get Lost in Chromacopia. Call Me If You Get Lost. Look, y'all may not have known it all this time. I can really fucking rap and do this shit. And I don't need it to be on my beats. I can do this shit. Whereas Chromacopia is, yeah, I can rap, I can do this shit, but I can also tell a story while I'm doing it.
Mhm.
He's one of them.
Yeah, he's slowly to me. He's slowly getting into not even slowly. I can't even say slowly anymore. His track record is if he turns into like a producer, he could definitely be up there with the Pharrells, with the Timbalands,
Yeah,
like yes, you have all your your alchemists, you have all of these people that your Londons, your Metro, sure, but he's different. Like he's on. I put him like the Kanye West with the Quincy's. He can be that. I think, and I personally think when I see him do a score for a movie, and I feel like that is coming. Like that is
I do
definitely
too.
coming. When he gets into his okay, I'm gonna show that I can be. I don't want to compare them, but when he starts getting into his childish Gambino bag and he starts writing movies and shows and skits and stuff like that because even the videos that he does and his
Yeah,
performances lives are spectacles. It's theater, it's art, it,
literally.
it's beautiful to look at, and like it's so intriguing, it's so eye-catching. I think that is going to be his next step. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we see him win like an Oscar or something.
I genuinely believe he is because I think he has the talent level to achieve it. The Igor concert was one of the best concerts I've ever been to. And before we move on to our boy Chris Brown, I have a hot take.
Go ahead.
People talk about Future, they talk about J. Cole, they talk about all these people fighting for that third spot, right? Tyler might got to start getting looked at, man.
in terms
He might have to
of
start getting looked at.
in okay, explain in terms of what
One,
aspect.
one. I think Chromacopia is the last project to me that gives you the right to be into that entrance, right?
Okay.
Yes, three. You can say what you want about the original trilogy, Igor, Call Me If You Get Lost, Chromacopia. Those are hits. Where's my camera at?
Hmm.
Those are hits. He has the three. Kendrick only got three. Drake has more than three. J. Cole has about three. Future has about three. He's earned the right in that regard. Sales. If we look at Chromacopia, I want everyone to remember because not everybody realized this.
He missed days
Chromacopia came out on a
on a
Tuesday.
Tuesday. That's right.
He missed 3 days of calculations and still did 285K first week. I don't think you guys are understanding. Let me list some names for y'all so y'all can kind of get the realm. Future with 7 days of calculations did 250. Travis Scott with 7 days of calculations did about 275, 280. Drake on For All the Dogs did about 300. So bear in mind, folks, in 4 days, Tyler was able to match their sales numbers and get there in his regard. He produces better than all of them. I think he's the only one that produces his own shit. So he has that beat. He's a better performer than all of them except maybe Travis Scott.
Okay.
At what point do we put our bias aside and start looking at stuff for what it is? I think if you're looking objectively at the music game, he may not be the comfortable pick. He may not be the coolest, most badass dude, the most gangsta, drug using, whatever monolith we put these people on, whatever pedestal we put them on. But when we're talking about accolades, body of work, sales, the whole nine, it's undeniable that if you want to give him three, I'm fine with that. He's top five for sure. I'm not hearing anything otherwise. And there's an argument. There's a very strong argument for three. There is. Because better, 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 better. I'm a follower in trends. I like trends. There's nothing to make me think that whatever comes next is not going to be better than his last. And if he can match up to y'all while missing 3 days, y'all should be terrified. What did DJ Khaled call his music? Mystery Man, mysterious music. It's not so mysterious. It's not so mysterious anymore, Mr.
Mm-mm.
Khaled. You guys are the ones out the loop. The people who aren't tuned into this, brother, y'all are the ones out the loop. This is not mysterious music. This is some of the greatest music we've been getting for the last 10 years, and people are just now starting to open their eyes to it. I'm gonna stop blazing. That's all I got for Tyler.
My thing is, I agree. There's an argument that could be made. It's I'm a music fan. I'm a music fan, and
Mm-hmm.
it just depends on what criteria you're looking at the time, because it fluctuates so much in my opinion that it's hard to like even if talking from three down. Two, you everybody's gonna go Kendrick and Drake. Um,
Yeah.
even though personally, I mean, I love Drake. I wouldn't have him up there at the moment right now. He's putting out songs and nobody's really talking about it like that. Like
He's
that
putting
lot.
out some. So
Go.
Santo, no, I'm gonna let you finish, but you're touching on it. You're touching on what I was gonna say after you were done. We
So
can't keep going off the big three from 2015. We have
thank
to
you.
update our list to the current era, and you're getting there. I think
And
that's the big problem that people have, but I'm gonna let you go.
that's what I'm saying. It depends on the lens that you're looking at when you're talking about the top three, because if you are looking at which sliders are you looking at, because just this album alone, and it is my favorite Tyler album. It's introspective, it's vulnerable, it's aggressive, it diss track, sure. Thought I Was Dead, my god. You got your anthems, you got your, I call it the strip club hits. My god, that Glorilla feature is insane.
I
um
wish it was longer.
I
I
I
wish
do
it was
too.
longer.
I I I I personally, I do appreciate Sexy Red. I do. It's not for me, but oh my
Mhm.
goodness, like if they would have just removed Sexy Red and just let Glorilla cook, like oh, and that was it. But it literally hits everything. I compared, like I was in the Discord and I compared this Chromacopia album to FMAB. The reason
Mhm.
Full Metal is regarded as the best anime, it's not because it peaks higher than everyone. No, I think AOT had bigger peaks than FMAB. I think a lot of
Yeah.
different animes peak higher than FMAB. One thing FMAB does, it keeps everything at a consistent 9. And
Yes.
this is what Tyler did in Chromacopia. From
Yes. I agree wholeheartedly.
visuals to telling a story from beginning to end, beat selection, music quality, rapping ability, pockets, everything was at a solid 9. Maybe he hit a 10 in, I personally think Thought I Was Dead and Noid are the standouts of the album. I know the storytelling in, I think it's Hey Judy, and talking about potentially being a father and going through that whole process and being scared and all of that stuff. Like that is masterful storytelling. So that might peak at a 10, but he does everything at a solid 9. The only pushback I would say that I would have is Future. Future's run this year
Yeah.
was insane.
It was. It was. It was.
If there was,
It was.
because I mean, personally, in the rap beef of the decade with Drake and Kendrick, Drake put out some great hits. Kendrick, through strategy and the bop of the year, took him
Mhm.
down. Aside from those two, I am sorry, but I still give it to Future. But if
Yeah.
we're updating the list,
Yeah.
if we're updating to this, just who's the best right now, who's delivered, I can see why you can say that there's an argument for Tyler. I can't. The only pushback I would say Future has to be on like I think that's the discussion. We're not discussing J. Cole because there's more than technical and lyrical ability. There's also the culture and also the environment that is battle rap that you want to engage in, but then you don't want to engage in. The flip-flop stuff from J. Cole is going to automatically, we don't want to hear anything about you being top of anything.
Nothing.
You've kind of like put your took
You
yourself out of
you lost your
contention.
right. Yeah. Yeah, he did. He
And
did.
that's just me. But if we are talking top, I mean, I'm not mad at it. I would love to see Tyler in the top 3 because what he did here, uh, it's supreme glaze. Because as a musician, I wish I could do half of the stuff that he is doing on that project musically.
I agree. No, I agree with you. Let's talk
Oh,
about C Breezy, man. Indigo?
eh, Indigo. Indigo is my favorite Chris
Why
Brown album.
Indigo though? Let's hear it.
You know when you know the phrase that became popular, sometimes you just gotta pop out and show people.
Yeah.
I think Indigo was that album. It was in a time where Chris Brown was doing, your hits here and there. I'll splash a song. I'll do a little feature. I'll make a TikTok trend, dance, whatnot. Then No Guidance came out, and I was like, "Oh, he's back. Oh, he's about to show people." And I was literally like a kid in a candy store. I was like my kids waiting for Christmas. I was like, okay, it's coming. And the album came out. And I was like, this is why. He is him. This is why, if you want to see a magic act, put Usher in a stage and then have Chris Brown come out. Watch Usher
Mm,
disappear.
that's a hot take.
That is sure. We can have it with people. I tell people all the time, if you are taking a person that can sing, sure, take Usher. Vocally, he I don't even think it's a clear. He beats Chris Brown. Performer, you
Hell
can't
no.
shine Chris Brown's shoes. And going back into the Michael Jackson, Chris Brown is the closest thing to Michael Jackson. Chris Brown is Michael Jackson without Conquer's hockey.
I got a question for you.
What's your question?
So my brother Trent, he's as big of a Chris Brown fan, if not more than you. He loves Chris Brown. He's
Mhm.
been begging me to do the deep dives, all that good stuff, right? I want to first put out a disclaimer. Fans, we do not stand by anything Chris Brown did in his past.
Mhm.
We understand that those actions were wrong, and we understand that they did happen, and I don't want to remove them from existence. However, my brother Trent said if that never happens, he feels like he surpasses Michael Jackson. How do you feel about that?
I'd say this. I think he surpasses Usher. I don't think he surpasses Michael. If he doesn't do that, let's take into account he doesn't get blackballed. He
Yes.
he wins Grammys. He
Yes.
he gets. I think I was having a discussion in our music Discord with everybody. Like, who would you like to see in the Super Bowl?
I'd
Chris
love to see
Brown.
Chris Brown.
Chris Brown would have the best Super Bowl show of all time. Of all time. We would forget about Purple Rain and it was raining. We would forget about Beyonce and the Black Panther. We would forget about Bruno Mars, Lady Gaga, who was phenomenal, the Justin Timberlakes, the Michael himself, because Michael just literally stood there, conquers hockey. It would be literally he would obtain conquers hockey. Do I think he surpasses Michael? Probably not, because it was a different time of music in music. I don't think you surpass the diamonds that he has, the multi platinum anthems. You would. I don't think you would reach to that peak now on a consistent basis. I don't think Usher could shine his shoes in terms of all of these things. I think he becomes more I think he's more popular than Beyonce if he doesn't do anything. That's just
Really?
that's just me. I think Chris Brown's ability as a performer, as an artist, producing his own music albums, because for some time Chris Brown's music albums felt like even what album? The one with him and Drake. That music
Yeah.
album, that music video felt like a music video watching TRL, watching BT from back then. That level of quality, that level of attention, not just a quick visual of you doing this, blah blah blah. No, it was still heavy choreography, skits, introduction to the videos, all of that. If he doesn't do the incident that he had with Rihanna, he is up there. He was the. I will say this: he would have been the one guy that would have competed. He would literally be Kobe to Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's the remix. Like literally, he is. I and that's why I call him. Chris Brown is Michael Jackson without the Conquerors hockey, because people don't faint.
It works. That fits. Yeah.
People don't pass out for Chris Brown, but people understand that boy, like. if it's not um All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey, it's Chris Brown's Christmas song.
Literally.
Like it's him, but because of that dark cloud that unfortunately the music industry has kept over him and will continue to keep over him, he won't hit that level of superstardom
Mhm.
in a mainstream audience, because to us who love hip hop and R&B solely, he is that. But
Yes.
unfortunately, he's not going to be the global icon that he could have been because of that. But Indigo is my favorite Chris Brown album because I love when an artist people when people forget about an artist, or kind of have him or her or them in the back of their heads, like, oh yeah, they're great, and he puts out a project that, like, you know what, let me remind y'all that this is what I do. And especially in a time where the R&B genre is kind of like fading out in the background, this to me kind of gave it a push to get back into the forefront. I think this inspired a lot of artists like Miguel, Lucky Day, um, even female singers to like really get back into their R&B bag. And I think this was a catalyst for that move of new R&B artists. So that's why I have it
Mhm.
as in my list.
Um, I'm gonna be honest, with the exception of No Guidance, I slept on this one. I feel like throughout my life, I slept on Chris Brown a lot. And it's weird. I don't know if it's a northerner thing. I can't really put my finger on it. But he's all, like I said, throughout every phase of my life, every single year, damn near. There's always been that song by Chris Brown that I've always loved. So for that, I'm gonna go back and listen to Indigo. I think he's immensely talented. People can say what they want. I think as far as like Michael Jackson may have had the conqueror's hockey. I agree. But when it comes to the actual skill and talent, like technical ability, I think Chris Brown might got him beat on
Mhm.
that stage. I think he might got him beat. He don't got the aura, but the moves he can do them, and he can do them a little better. Um, uh, Bar none, I think Chris Brown might be the best on on stage dancer, probably that we've ever seen. And it's not
Mhm.
just him; he can put together an entire ensemble and lead the charge and have them all dance and create an experience as well. And I think that he deserves a lot of credit for that. Um, I'm gonna really get locked in with Breezy because I want to be that fan that a lot of my friends are and that you are. I want to really fully understand it. And I feel like I can't without having listened to all of the stuff. Now albums like Fame, uh, X, I believe I've heard, but
Mhm.
Indigo, that might have been when I'd already stepped out. So nah, I'm gonna go back for sure.
Yeah, I would say check it out. I'm pretty sure that you'll enjoy it. And the reason why Chris Brown doesn't have Conqueror's hockey is because if he did, every time he did a backflip, somebody wouldn't just pass out; they would just die. So he
Yeah,
he
the
had to
movement is
he
too
had to
far.
he had to get nerfed. He had to get nerfed somewhat.
You can't have everything, and I
Mm.
felt that.
So I know the next person on your list. You talk about this person a lot on the Discord. So I need you to just take the floor and talk about this guy.
If you look at behind me on my wall, I got his next album. I got the CD and vinyl package up right behind me. Um, I had an old soul when it came to listening to music. Like I said, the extent of my music listening experience came from my mom and my dad. Whatever they liked was passed on to me in regards to hip hop. I could listen to R&B, I could listen to rock, I could do whatever I wanted. Hip hop was gatekept from me. So when it came to that, 2015, 2016, 2017, those years were starting to digress a little bit from the more lyrical rap, more structured rap, and people are starting to play a lot with vocal inflections, have a lot more freedom with how they want to use cadence and ride these beats. Playboy Cardi, it's just something that fucking clicked. I don't even understand it. I don't know why it works the way it works, but he encapsulates swag, he encapsulates coolness, and he doesn't need to do a whole lot while doing it. He's not trying to break your brain down with crazy metaphors and similes. He's not trying to put you to sleep with his life experiences. He's not trying to teach you or show you anything, and it was my first experience at ever encountering music like that and just appreciating it. I feel like he has a good ear for what beats he likes to pick. I think Pierre Bourne is a large part of his career and his artistry. I think Pierre Bourne, in my opinion, hot take coming, I think he's the greatest computer only producer ever. I'm talking no samples, I'm talking no live instrumentation. I'm talking creating all of your beats solely from the computer, picking a pack on FL Studio and working out the pack and figuring out how to make it work on his DAW. I think he might be the best computer producer of all time. There's something about that computer. There's something about his rhythm schemes. He knows what he was doing, and Playboy Cardi knew how to hop into it perfectly. Like I said, it's just rapping. I tell people all the time, if you don't like Playboy Cardi, you don't like money, you don't like hoes, you don't like dressing good. That's all his music is about. It's not meant to make you think. It's not meant to make you want to go do something other than go get a bag. It's just meant for you to vibe. And he ethereal trap beats, regular trap beats, um beats I can't even describe. He's made his own genre. They call it rage. I think this self-titled Playboy Cardi experience, this was his first project. He had been making music 4 years prior to dropping this project. This was him basically saying, "This is what I have to offer." And it came at an interesting time in my life. I'm gonna go on and on and on and on and on. This is one of my favorite albums forever. This came at one of the interesting times in my life. I was actually moving from Georgia to New York, or back to New York rather, and I just wanted to get something to help me get through this Greyhound ride. I was tired of J. Cole, I was tired of Kendrick, I was tired of Drake, and I was like, you know what? Let me try something new. I didn't like Young Thug. I didn't like any of those other artists just because of the whole mumble. It was ingrained in my head.
Mhm.
I turned on that self-titled Playboy Cardi. That first song, Location, it sounds like you're entering into a grand cathedral with the like the way the beat starts off. It's like you're walking into this cathedral, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's about to rap his ass off, and he just goes, yeah, 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 and I'm getting mad. I'm like, what is he doing on this beat? And then the beat drops, the 808's coming. You cannot hide from my car, and it's just knocking. I'm like, this is legendary. And then we talked about Tyler the Creator being able to keep everything at a 9. This album was to help me realize we cannot judge all of this shit the same, right? I'm not gonna judge Playboy Cardi how I'm gonna judge a Kendrick Lamar. I'm not gonna judge a Future how I'm gonna judge a Tupac or a Biggie Smalls. We got to take people in the lane that they occupy and judge them accordingly. When it comes to turn up, feel good, chill music, I don't think a little Uzi Vert can compare. I don't think a Don Tolliver can compare. I don't think a Travis Scott can compare. I think Playboy Cardi has maximized the ability to make minimalism seem like a lot. And I do think I have to tax him personally a little bit because the producer is largely in part the reason for that because his beats are incredible, but I don't think anybody else can rap on these beats that he's doing. I don't think anyone stands a chance, and he has everything for you. He has he has an introspective track on the album called Flex, where he's rapping about he got his girlfriend, he got his mom, how he's navigating that situation. You know how everybody thinks he's leveling up or, around them, and he's not giving back to anybody else. Um, he touches everything in this style of music, and he's not saying shit. He's just yeah, yeah, yeah. He's just flowing, and it works. If you want to feel good, I'm talking like go to the gym. If you're editing, if you want to just shut your brain off and have a good time, I think Playboy Cardi is the man for you. I've never listened to a song that's a minute and 45 seconds long, and all he says is boss up on these niggas for a minute and 45 seconds, and I felt it. I'm on my way to work, boss up on these niggas, boss up on these niggas, boss up, and it hits. It hits. Um, Listen, I tell people all the time, I get why y'all don't like Cardi. I understand it. Give him a chance and go into it with the mindset of I'm not trying to be educated here. I just want to unwind. To the people that smoke, maybe you drink, take you a little bit of sip of wine, lay back in your chair, just turn it on, shut your brain off. It's an amazing listening experience. I think in that current era of Cardi, which is the self-titled Die Lit Whole Lot of Red trilogy, I think this is by far the best album. I think this is when he was most comfortable with himself and he was just having fun while he's doing it. I heavily recommend people, if there's any album you don't listen to, if you're not a Playboy Cardi fan, please listen to this. Please. I'm done, please.
When you sent me this list, and I personally was surprised Playboy Cardi was like this low. Not saying that these are in order from like one to whatever, but I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to hear Miles talk about Playboy Cardi because believe it or not, I never listened to Playboy Cardi until I joined
Yeah.
the Discord and listening to you rave about him.
Yeah.
So, and this is me. I think a lot of people go into rap with intentions, preset intentions of you need to have this level of bars or you need to be saying something or whatnot. I'm like, don't you ever just watch a movie to just a brain dead movie? Don't you watch the Expendables? Do you watch Expendables for the plot? No. You watch Expendables to
No.
watch shit blow up. Like that is it. Playboy Cardi is I don't want to say it's brain dead. I don't because
It
I feel
is.
like that's almost disrespectful, but it's I like the beats. I like the melodies. I like the minimalist not saying much of anything. And this and I don't mean it to sound disrespectful, but Playboy Cardi is the wavy 21 Savage. They are for some, and I love 21. Like I can listen to a 21 Savage beat of him just saying 21 as an ad lib. So when you said that you were bumping a minute and 45 of him just saying that over and over and over and over, I got it instantly because I heard the song and I was all right. Let's go to work. Okay. Okay. And
Yeah. It's just
it's a wave. And what and it's funny because it doesn't make sense. Playboy Cardi should not be as great as he is personally because it doesn't make sense. It
it
really
doesn't.
doesn't. You don't say anything. Yes, the music's great, but you don't say anything. But you have this aura that you could just do whatever and it just works. Like I wish I had that. So I was reading in the Discord and you were talking and I think we were talking about Super Bowl shows and I was talking about Chris Brown. And then I I remembered what you said about Playboy Cardi. Like people should really, listen to Playboy Cardi and all of this because his feature run is going crazy this year and whatnot. I'm like, you know what? Let me finally tap into Playboy Cardi. And I said instantly, I think it was like maybe 20 minutes of just me listening to Playboy. And I messaged instantly saying that a Playboy Cardi Super Bowl show would be the biggest vibe in the history of the planet because it
It'd be
would be
lit.
a whole lot of just beats of him just being swagged out, not caring, and you just, yeah, 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 okay. Yeah.
whole
like,
crowd.
I get it. I get it. I'm going to go back to actually like really like listen to it, but I feel like even just saying that, really like listen to it. I think what you said about him taking minimalistic approaches to music and making it into maybe a subgenre of hip hop.
Mhm.
I can appreciate that. So it's almost like a bittersweet. Like I want to go back and really like pay attention and listen, but then I feel like I kind of lose the purpose of what Playboy Cardi does, because I don't go back to
Yeah,
21 Savage and listen to his bars. Like I don't
yeah.
care. Like I just like it's not meant for that. I just want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 M's. Like you're just counting. Like it's not something that it's going to
Two,
blow your
three,
mind.
four.
But no, just vibe, just rock out. And I think that's the purpose of Playboy Cardi. And you made a fan out of me. I'll just say it. Like I rock with it. I can't tell you any name of the song, but I can hear, yeah. I'm like, okay, Playboy's playing. Let me turn it up just a little
Yeah.
extra. Let me vibe out. Okay, okay. Now we're good. So I couldn't wait until you got your Playboy Cardi glaze out of the way.
Listen, everybody should be a Playboy Cardi fan. And then this is gonna be my hot take for Playboy Cardi. We talk about Young Thugs. We talk about all of these people who are influential to the rap game. I know there's a couple of y'all in our Discord that are tapped into the underground scene, so y'all already know what I mean. All of these rappers look up to Cardi. The labels are looking out for Cardi. He's the thing that people are trying to figure out how they can encapsulate the most, because it requires the most barrier to entry, because you don't need to be all that technically skilled. Even though I think what Cardi does is a skill in its own right. Not everyone could do what him and a 21 Savage, another artist I'm gonna throw out there, a young nudie. Not everyone can pull that off to where you're not
Mhm.
this proficient bars expert and you can still make a sound career in music. But when we're talking about the next names up, a lot of those are going to be taking inspiration from Playboy Cardi, and some of the ones already here have taken inspiration from Playboy Cardi. That's the end of my glade.
Stay. Oh, God. It just doesn't make sense. I'm still stuck on that. It really does. Like it shouldn't work, but it just does. It just does, and that's all you need to know. That's literally all you need to know.
Mhm.
Don't look for the secret ingredient. Don't look. Just vibe. Just enjoy it. All right.
Okay.
So next up,
This is a good fucking album, Santo. This shit
next
good.
next up, you want to have your white girl summer. Paramore Paramore album is where it's at. One of my favorite YouTube videos of all time is the lead singer for Paramore going into a makeshift studio in her closet and singing the Still Into You into a microphone. No soundproofing material. You grainy video. Voice doesn't need any effects. Phenomenal singer. One of my favorite concerts is the Final Riot from their next. I think it was their next or their previous one of the two. I think Riot. I think Riot is a previous album, but Paramore
Mhm.
self-titled album to me is my favorite. Paramore Paramore did something for me when it comes to the rock genre of music. It made me fall in love with a female singer singing rock. I like, I'm a Nickelback fan. I like Linkin Park. I like Metallica. I like Avenged Sevenfold. I like a lot of rock music. I do. I do enjoy it. But when I heard Paramore for the first time, I was like, what is this? Oh, women can do this. Oh, she is bodying dudes. Oh, she's an amazing vocalist. Let me, and it's not like girly, girly pop or whatnot. No, like it's like real rock music. And I fell in love with Paramore. Like that era of early 2000s, Twilight movies, they have their introspective songs in them, the love songs of the Twilight movies or whatnot. They're on the soundtrack. 1,000 years. Um, like Paramore just did something for me. For now, I can listen to an Icon for Hire, for Hillstorm, just these female powerhouses in the rock field. And this was the catalyst for just opening my eyes into the world of female rock vocalists. And it's
Mhm.
just a phenomenal, phenomenal album. And the band's great. They're still making music. And me, I shouted out to Miles one time. He was listening to their newer album, and their sound changes. They evolve with the times. And that's one thing I appreciate about them. And yeah, this to me is the best Paramore album. I know a lot of people have Riot as their best, but I think this clears. That might be a hot take. I don't know, but if you looking for a rock group, Paramore, go to it. Just go to it.
Yeah, my personal favorite by them is After Laughter. That's the project right after this
Mhm.
one. Um, but Ain't It Fun? That's probably one of my favorite, not just Paramore songs, probably rock songs ever. And I think you hit it right on the head. I think Haley is very understated as a vocalist. Uh, Not just necessarily the different range of a vocal she can hit, her voice is very strong. I was kind of wanting to get some more insight on her background a little bit because, yo, some of the runs she like, Ain't It Fun, for example, right? Near the end, she's going on these vocal runs where she's going high and low. She's holding on to long notes for an extended period of time. I was like, does she have a church background? This is gonna sound blasphemous to some. She was kind of reminding me of Beyonce a little bit, just with what she's able to do with her voice and how she's able to manage it. I think when we're talking about rock vocalists, a name that always stood out to me is Brandon Urie on the man side. That's
Mhm.
the Panic at the Disco lead
Mhm.
singer. I think when we're talking about women, she's definitely at the forefront. I don't think there's anybody really close to her. Um, yeah, I think Paramore's incredible. I think they've been consistently good for the greater part of 10 or 12 years. And it's kind of weird because I think all these years later, they're kind of starting to finally get their flowers, where people are starting to go back and really understand their impact and what they did for the genre. Understand how good Haley and the rest of the band were. When I was looking at your list when you first posted it, them and Evanescence, they were the two where I was like, okay, Santa knows hoops. I'm glad they're here. Cause yeah, I think their impact is very understated. In that rock community. Shout out Haley, shout out Paramore, man.
Yeah, like growing up, it was it was those those three females. It was Paramore, it was Evanescence, and it was Avril. Like those
Yep.
three ran female rock vocals, all in different way. Paramore with the hard rock, Avril with the skater grungy emo rock, and then Evanescence. We'll get to it. That almost evangelical, just a different sound. You've been using the word ethereal. It was eclectic, it was dark, it was gloomy, it was pretty, it was bright, it was just a different move. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
We're
You
gonna get
have
to it, but the best
we're
way I can describe it for the viewers, the best way I can describe it, Evanescence, how it sounds, is how angels would actually look. That's the best way I can describe it.
I'm not mad at it. You know, it does work. It does work. We'll get to that. But so we
Woo!
have someone that we talked about early. Talk about Wheezy again. Let's go.
Everybody, y'all are gonna beat me up. He put dedication, but there's a specific dedication that was influential to me, and it's not one that's liked by the people. Um, for me, it's dedication 5. That was one that is not heavily loved by the fans. That is one that is not held in high regard at all. I want to say in the toughest times of my life was when Dedication 5 came out. It was a time where I was walking to school every day like 2 hours. Times were rough. The bag had ran out. Parents weren't doing good. Divorce, all of that stuff. All I had was Wayne, and D5 is what I could say probably saved me in that period of time. And I actually don't think it's as bad as a lot of people said it was. That's when we started to finally get a more of that remix era Wayne, where he was remixing everybody's shit. And I'm not gonna lie, say what you want, he annihilated those people's songs. He remixed "New Slaves" by Kanye. He annihilated that song. He remixed oh my god, he remixed Type Away. He had T.I. on it. He
Hmm.
annihilated that song. He remixed Fuck With Me, You Know I Got It. He annihilated that song. Um, and in addition to that, I feel like he also allowed a lot of newer, more up and coming artists to get their shine as well. That was when I got the first hear of The Weeknd, who went on to become one of my favorite pop artists. Because The Weeknd was on the intro. Wayne didn't say anything. He just let The Weeknd sing it. Um, he had a. I'm drawing a blank. Oh my god. There's one other person. Um, it's not Gambino. Who's the discount Gambino? You know who I'm talking about?
Discount
Chance the Rapper. He
chance.
had Chance the Rapper on
It's
there.
crazy that I knew that.
Um, he had Chance the Rapper on there. I think D5, one of his worst mixtapes. I get it, everybody, but taking into account the point in time I was existing in, and him being one of the other than Tyler the Creator, because Wolf came out around the same time as well. It was Wolf, it was this album, and it was Childish Gambino 3005. These three projects literally saved my life. So in regards to it being the best of his work, I'm not going to sit here and put that much of a cape on it. But personal value to me, I don't think Wayne's rapping ability had Wayne. I still think he was a great, phenomenal rapper. Was he remixing songs a little bit too much? Sure. Was his original songs kind of ass on that project? Yes, but it was still Wayne all of the same. I still appreciated it, and I think it has its space of importance as much as anything else.
Yeah, that's what I
Also,
Oh, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
UOENO. It had one hit on it, so fuck y'all. It had one song that everybody liked on it, so screw y'all.
I I mean, I don't even. You know what? I'm just gonna let it sit. I'm not even gonna say anything else. We're just gonna move forward. Um. So yeah. Okay. So next up, and this is now going to my Hispanic side. I am Dominican, and this guy, um, I a running theme for me has always been I'm a church going guy. I do have my faith. I don't impose it onto people. I share it from time to time. And as you've heard earlier, I say there's a difference between talent and gifting. Don Omar is that guy. If you do know about reggaeton music for the Hispanic community, there were the big three. In my opinion, it was Daddy Yankee, there was Don Omar, and there was Tego Calderon. To me, Don Omar is let me not say that. He's top two all time. I think I will say the number one reggaeton artist of all time, in my personal opinion, is Daddy Yankee. But it's like a 1A, 1B type thing. The last Don, um, it hit every note of what reggaeton was in that time. It was dance music, sexy music. It was introspective storytelling. Um, Cuéntale. There was it. I might the track list is fading from my head. In all, this album, from him being, he grew up in the church as well, and unfortunately, sometimes people in the church kind of push their gems out through certain experiences that happened to him, but he still pursued music. He has one of the greatest feature bags, um as we've heard from the Fast and the Furious, Danza Kuduro, and all of that. That's him. For those who did not know,
Mm,
he he can do everything. It's weird because I call him the Enrique Iglesias of reggaeton, because one thing that I will always say with Enrique Iglesias is that he evolves with music and he's always relevant. Don Omar has been able to remain relevant in everything. He just recently got a icon award for the Latin community for his contributions to music, because that album, The Last Don, it hits to me because that was my introduction to reggaeton music.
mhm.
That was, how nowadays people say, "Oh, Bad Bunny is putting everything on the map." I'm like, no, wait a minute, no, it was this guy. Like this
Before
guy
you
was
get there, I
doing,
got a question for you.
like this guy was him. Him and Daddy Yankee they were the ones that brought it to an international level. So let's pump the brakes on it. What was your question?
No, finish. It's gonna be at the end.
Okay, so this one, it's a short album, and I like that. I like short, concise, focused projects, and this did it for me. Um, there was a time where I was living in Puerto Rico, and everybody was playing this CD. Um, I moved from Puerto Rico to I was born in the Dominican Republic, moved to
Mhm,
Puerto Rico, and then came to the Virgin Islands. This project, I grew up in the projects. This album was a project staple for all the Hispanic people. Like this was the one you wanted to get the party started. You did it with this. Great intros, great outros, great melodies, just great party music. If you wanted an introspective track, there is one in there talking about him cheating on his girl and why he did it, and he's sorry, but it's almost like a sorry not sorry type thing. Just self-discovery, all of that, everything is in this album. So for everybody that is a reggaeton fan and wants to peep a great classic staple in the reggaeton community, The Last Dome by Don Omar.
I'm not gonna say too much on Don Omar, because I haven't really listened. I do partake in Women of the Dominican variety though, and I've heard of his praises though. I have heard that Don Omar is one of the legends. I've heard that he was great, and then you mentioned the name that gets me beaten up, Bad Bunny.
Mhm.
We know how amazing he is. We know the run he's on, and he's only been doing it for a short amount of time. Do you think Bad Bunny could surpass the likes of a Don Omar?
No.
And I've every single person I've asked, the answer has been no. What is it?
One,
What is he missing?
it's nothing that he's missing, because I think Bad Bunny is, you know what Bad Bunny is? Bad Bunny is Cardi. Is Playboy Cardi of reggaeton music. He has a swag about him. He has all of that. The one thing that he, It's what you know what people say about Michael Jordan. I personally think LeBron James is the greatest. I think he
Sure.
surpassed Jordan. That's me. But you know how some people would say like he can do nothing to pass Jordan? I think this is the same thing. There is a level of authenticity that they have that unfortunately I personally don't see Bad Bunny ever obtaining. Not saying that he's a culture vulture or anything, because he's not. He's from there. He's from Puerto Rico. But it's almost like you weren't really in the trenches type thing. You benefited from a lot of the groundwork that these people did. The Wisin and Yandels, the Daddy Yankees, the Don Omars, the Tego Calderons, the Hector El Father, like all of these pioneers. It's great that you've brought the genre to this international level to a point where maybe they didn't get there, but that level of authenticity, that's why I don't think in the hearts of people from the Dominican Republic, from Puerto Rico, you'll be one of the greats. Will you be the greatest? Unfortunately, I don't think you can, because music is like that. Music does have a tend to hold on to the OGs a little bit harder than maybe they should, because even to this day people still think that Biggie and Tupac are the greatest rappers of all time, which I think it is
Sorry.
not even close. I'm sorry. Not enough. Like Lauren Hill, like people think Lauren Hill is the best female rapper of all time. Like, I'm sorry, no. Just that one album can only carry you as much.
It's not enough.
But because it's not
Yeah.
enough, so you can have all the hits and you can do all of this, but because of this genre of music was so enclosed into just the Caribbean, and these guys took it out and pushed it internationally, that feat, I don't think I don't think he's done enough to surpass that level of work that they had to do. So
I I
I don't
I
think he
agree.
would. Yeah.
Before we hop on to the next album, I want to speak. I have a homie named Gabriel because I had this conversation with him about Don Omar specifically. Just because we were listening to music in the VC and he wanted to show me some more Hispanic music, and a thing that he said to me that kind of made me had to kind of reevaluate how I see music in general. He said the difference for him between a Bad Bunny and a Don Omar, you play Don Omar and let's say, you play it anywhere. The setting doesn't matter, right? You have your old grandma who's 103. She's gonna dance. You got your 50-year-old. He's gonna dance. You're 30. They're gonna dance. You're 15. They're gonna dance. Your 5-year-old in diapers. They're gonna dance. He
Mhm.
said that level of impact to where a whole household, Don Omar's music transcends generations. He said he feels like you said, that Playboy Cardi esque style of music, that's just something where Bad Bunny's either gonna have to change his subject matter and mature in order to kind of gain that, or it's gonna be something he's never gonna be able to obtain. That music that's able to transcend generations. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to share that. I wanted to give my homie Gabe some praise because that's actually the standard that he put to have Bad Bunny below Don Omar was just that legacy factor. And we do say that in music we do hold our OGs close to heart. And I think that is a lot of the reason, right? Just because you need to have music that's able to apply to everyone, and those OGs typically found out that ability to do that, right? Michael
Yeah.
Jackson, for example, we spoke about him many times today. No matter what age you are or where you're from, the music's gonna hit. And that matters. That should be a separator between who's a goat and who wasn't. So
Yeah.
that was just my little piece on that.
No, I got you. I got you. So another person on your list that the last two I don't know. I don't know. So let's do both together. So hit me with both, because I'm definitely going to have to peep this, because you're one person that I respect your music knowledge, and also your input in who people should be listening to. So I already put them on my phone. Who are these people?
We're gonna start with Tame. So Tame Impala. When you look at the name, I actually learned about them from Tyler. Tyler mentioned them as a one-off in a song. I said, Tyler mentioned it. Let me go bump. He mentioned it. I bumped. I wasn't disappointed. It's one guy, but you would think it's multiple people because he plays every single instrument that you would expect a band to do. He plays the guitar himself. He plays the bass himself. He plays the keys himself. He does the vocals himself. He uses the computer to produce whatever he couldn't do with an instrument himself. And it creates this almost band like sounding product with one person being at the forefront. This album, Currents, think of it like a light switch. When the switch is on, at the very minimum, as you turn the switch on, you get light. When you turn on Currents, at the very minimum, you're gonna dance. You're gonna dance your heart away. It's a very euphoric style of music. It makes you almost feel like you're on shrooms or acid with the way that he plays with bass, the bass guitar. I didn't know you can make the bass sound the way it sounds, the way he was doing it, the way he plays with the electric guitar. I don't know I don't know what drugs he's doing to come up with the sounds and the ideas that he comes up with, but it's an amazing experience. But then when you peel that layer back and you're not just dancing and focusing on how it sounds, you get a very listen, I'm a lover boy at heart. I know y'all see me on the show. I look brooding and menacing. I'm a lover boy. When you peel that layer back, this is one of the greatest breakup albums I've ever heard in my life. He's just being real about everything. So much so, another famous musician, Rihanna, remixed one of his songs in her album Anti called Same Old Person, Same Mistakes. That song was made by
Okay.
this man, Tame Impala. A song about how, no matter how much you try to change it, no matter how much you grow, you're going to remain the same person and you're going to make the same mistakes. And all you can do is identify those mistakes and move forward. I think this album holds a special place in that middle of the decade. It came out in 2015 because it kind of reinvigorated the alt rock scene. And now we have bands like Men I Trust, Wild Sleep, I mentioned earlier, the Marias. There's a lot of bands. Summer Spent, Rice Wine, artists like Joji. They take a lot of that euphoric influence and try to encapsulate that drug sounding music. It literally sounds like you're high. Like if shrooms had a music genre, it would be Tame Impala. And I think this album is his apex. We got hit songs like The Less I Know the Better, Let It Happen, things like that. Same old person, same mistakes, discipline. I think it's a front to back. I think this is a 10 out of 10 album to me. I think he's consistent in the themes that he follows throughout the album. I think it's structured very well. It does tell a story, the breakup being the story. And then at the very minimum, if you don't want to focus on any of that, you turn it on and you can just dance like a hippie. The Life of Pierre 4. I'm going to preface this by saying when it comes to replayability, I think this is the most replayable album I've ever heard of. It hits just as much as it did on the first day as it does now. I gave a lot of credit to Playboy Cardi's producer, and Pierre Bourne is his in-house producer and has been for the majority of his career. He's a person who's pretty much defined that Playboy Cardi sound that a lot of artists are trying to replicate. But what I liked is he was able to show us kind of like a Kanye West. He is a Kanye West disciple. He was able to show us I can make music as well. Now, is he that great of a rapper? No. Um, Wordplay, all of that? No. Can he sing very well? No. He can't do a lot of those things. But what he did master is how to ride a beat, being a producer himself, and also how to make very introspective, very emotional music. Another breakup album here. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a sad boy. But yes, this is another breakup album. Um, very vulnerable, very replayable, and he was able to make a breakup album almost sound like a turn up album, right? You're not sitting there being depressed, sad, and brooding. You're almost happy that it ended. And another thing he played with, I don't know if he's the first person to do this, but in this version of the Life of Pierre 4, every song continues from the last. So the end of the beat of the first song becomes the beat for the second song. the end of the beat for the second, the third, so on until the end of the album. It creates one continuous experience, and that's why he called it The Life of Pierre. The whole album is meant to be one song to encapsulate that point of
Okay.
life. It's meant to encapsulate that point in time that his life is in. So, The Life of Pierre 4 is the one that focuses on the breakup. And so that's what you get. Like I said, infinite replayability. Beats are knocking. He's singing. The subject matter is great. It's funny. It's personal. And what I like is he's not taking himself too seriously. This isn't the album that was meant to sell 100K first units. This was the album that meant to understand that, look, I'm more than a producer. I can produce, but I can also make music too. And that's what I really appreciate about it.
So what genre would you if you had to qualify it in a genre? Is it R&B? Is it like just to make it easier for
It
somebody that does want to listen to this because I don't want to say music fans or the general public of music fans are very simplistic and they kind of need that. So I just wanted to ask, so what genre would you put this in?
I will say it's hip hop, y'all. I will say it's hip hop because the beats are heavily trap influenced,
Hmm.
but I want you to walk into it as an R&B album.
Okay.
It's the best way I can describe it. It's R&B on trap beats.
Okay. Because that was gonna be my follow up. So for the music fans, the music nerds, what would you call this? So R and
It's
B on
it's
trap.
R&B on trap beats. It's R&B
Okay,
on trap beats, and then the actual subgenre itself is called plug MB. If you
plug
Google
and
that
B.
subgenre, it's called plug MB.
Okay, okay. I definitely am gonna have to peep. I'm noticing a trend, Miles. I'm noticing a trend. A lot of breakup. Yeah.
I
I mean.
mean, it,
No, go
It's
ahead.
it's weird because it's like when the Life of Pierre 4 came out, I wasn't even going through a breakup, but I don't know. His storytelling, it just felt so real that it almost put me into a breakup. And then the songs that weren't necessarily focused on breakups and just like, the trials of growing up, being a man and doing shit that you're not supposed to be doing. There's a song where he's like, what did you find going through my phone? What did you find? It's just simple shit like that you can relate to as a man. Like, bitch, what did you find? Why are you going through my phone? Like, it's just relatable music. I feel like that's why R&B's been around so much when you're talking about love, whether you're the biggest, baddest killer or the nerdiest nerd, everyone can relate to love and those type of emotions. And I think that's why I like that lover boyish, breakup-y style music. Um, but no, there's turn up in there. I don't want y'all to be put it back. There is turn up on there. There is some more. There's some gangsta, a little bit of gangsta style stuff on there, but it's more personal to who he is. He's not trying to be anybody else but Pierre. When he calls it the life of Pierre, it's really about him. He's not faking an image. He's not. It's not a gimmick. He's for real giving you the real spiel about who he is.
All right. So to close it out, I'll go with the last two as well. Um, these two bands, it was very influential for me, and this is why. I'll take them out of order. I'll start with Linkin Park. Linkin Park Hybrid Theory was the first album I ever bought. I actually
Ooh.
with my own money that I raised, I went into a store called Sam Goody, old store, where they had you actually had headphones that you would go in, sample music, whatnot. They'd have like maybe 30 seconds, like what Spotify does with previews and stuff. You'd actually go to the
Hmm.
store, and this is where you would find it. Remember, I grew up in an age, and this is gonna make me sound old, where internet wasn't really a thing as of yet. Yes, everybody that had an email had an AOL. So I go to the store. I saw this album cover. Okay, it's this guy. There's a butterfly behind it. It's in gray, and it's okay. It looks like a guy almost riding a horse, but no, he's like playing a guitar, whatnot. Okay, fine, whatever. And it reminds me of a band that I saw a video on VH1, also on MTV, called Linkin Park. It was I'm About to Break. And I was like, okay, so I know this song. Okay, fine. And I said, you know what? Fine, I'll just buy the album. It's my first album. I already know the first song. I go with it. I carry it home, and it got me into playing keyboard because this group, I've never seen a DJ in a rock band.
Mm,
I've never seen somebody use pianos, synths, and a DJ booth in a hard rock band. Yes, you had your Bon Jovis playing with synth pianos and keyboards. You had your Queens. You had these melodic rock groups, but a heavy, aggressive rock band with a screamer in Chester, R.I.P., and a
R.I.P.
DJ with a keyboard. I was like, what the hell is this? Where can I get one? How can I learn to play? This kind of like brought me into my music journey. And this album did that for me as a kid. Like seeing the music video of Crawling, I was like, oh, I get it. I get it. The different elements, the different just the subject matter they were talking about. I was going through a sad point as a kid. I wasn't. Everybody calls me the moral guy, even though I'm on Team Villain now. But back in the day, I was not the happiest kid. I was going through depression, anxiety, um, hanging out with bad crowd, sold drugs. Did 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 I wasn't the good guy as I am now. You guys are lucky. You guys are blessed to have this version, this evolved version of me, my true form. But back
Mm-hmm.
then, no, I wasn't that guy. And this it feels like this CD was really talking to me like, "Hey, you're going to be okay." But these sometimes it does feel like you're on the edge. You are going to break. It feels like something is crawling in your skin. It feels like you might sometimes want to hurt yourself or whatnot. Don't do it. So this album really spoke to me in that way. And I would like get out from school, and our family had a CD player, a portable CD player, and I would fight my sisters to to get home first so I can plug in this album and just all the way through, like daily, because this was music was my escape, and this provided me an avenue to where I could do it in a way that I could be at home safe, but also get an emotional style of release so I wouldn't crash out. And Evanescence Fallen, I've never heard anything like it. I've I was at this point I was going to church and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
and I heard this and I was like, "Oh, gospel music sounds like this. Oh, this is cool." And then I found out it was not gospel music. No, this is a rock band. I was
Yeah.
like, this is different. I've up to this day there has not been a band like Evanescence. Evanescence took this angel voice, this like cathedral grand, like the aha moment, and made it into rock music. And it's dark, it's gothy, but at the same time it's so pretty. And it's like trying to mold something out of opposites, something that's bright, airy, and beautiful as an angelic voice, and these dark tones, minor chords, lyrics that are a little bit dark side, and trying to meld them together. I've never up to this day, I keep saying it, I've never heard anything like that. My Immortal, Haunted, Tourniquet, it's just bring me to life. Nobody's Fool is my favorite song that they've ever done. This album, this album is an experience. Like the same way I say that Tyler the Creator's Chromacopia album is an experience, this album is literally put headphones on, sit down, listen to it, and feel. Just feel what it's trying to do, and just it's art. It's literally art. And I can't say that a lot about other albums. I say if I did have to pick one album on my entire list that I would like someone to listen to, even over Off the Wall from Michael Jackson, Fallen by Evanescence is the album I would say, look, guys, pick it up and just listen to it. Yes, it's a rock album. Yes, it's not the most popular style of rock that has ever been, and it will never be. But there was a moment in time that Evanescence came out and people understood that something was happening in the music world. And that moment in time, nothing has been duplicated. That in itself, no one has been able to duplicate this genre of rock up to this day. Listen to it.
I know he sold y'all, so I'm gonna. I know he's definitely sold me. I've heard Evanescence in passing. The best way I can describe it is if you grew up watching anime in that early 2000s, that 2010s, you saw an AMV that had an Evanescence or a Linkin Park song on it. They were like the pioneers of anime AMVs. Bring Me to Life is the one that screams at me for Linkin Park. It's a Numb, Breaking the Habit, One
Hmm.
Step Closer. Uh, you watch an anime AMV, you were watching Itachi mortifying Sasuke. I guarantee Linkin Park or Evanescence was behind it. Um, Speaking on hybrid theory, I do a thing on my Instagram story where sometimes I request albums to listen to. I work in cybersecurity. It's not very glamorous. It's not flashy. So sometimes I'm able to just listen to music and sit back and give my opinion. And we talked a lot about vulnerability and being open in regards to some of these other projects on our list. I feel like when artists are willing to be open, they're usually very selective of what they're trying to be open about, right? So artists are very comfortable with picking love, for example, or incarceration, or their parentage, how their household worked. Depression seems to be one of those things that was very much a taboo. And when you listen to Hybrid Theory, and like I said, I recently re-listened to it. It's heavy, man. Um, and that's not to be taken in a negative connotation. But rest in peace, Chester. When I'm listening to these songs, these weren't just songs that he was making to resonate with a group of people. Like he was screaming out and letting us know what was really happening on the inside. And I think the music was so profound and so deep. Uh, I haven't really been one that uh was like faced with depression or anxiety or things like that all too much, but it makes you take a step back and even want to be more polite or be more there's a word I'm looking for. Be more understanding to a neighbor. You may not know how close someone is to hitting that breaking point and them doing something minor or major that that could affect their life forever, right? It's one of those albums where it's more so like, listen, this could be you screaming out like this. Be patient with people. be understanding with people, and that's why even though I didn't rank it high in my actual review of it, I very much appreciate Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. I'm a Meteora fan.
Mhm.
You know
A
that's how
lot of
that
people,
goes.
yeah.
Uh, but no, I think Linkin Park and I think Chester, they had something special there. I think they had something very, very special, and I think that's why they were able to be relevant for so long. And I think it's unfair that in modern history people kind of reduce them to the Transformers movies. They always say they make very Transformers style music. I think that's very disingenuous and unfair to what their music actually represents, and what it stood for.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, and just to piggyback, even because I do get that from a lot of people, because I do think Meteora is the better Linkin Park album, like hands down.
Mhm.
This one just has a more personal attachment, and also for the comment regarding people saying that they just put them into, oh, they make Transformers style music. I always responded to them by saying this: it's funny how you're using a compliment as a diss, or trying to use a compliment as a diss, because if you say that, that means that they created a genre of music and you acknowledge that. So even in your
Mm,
trying to diss, you're actually inadvertently, without even knowing, just complimenting them, because yes, they Linkin Park was the rock band of my era. If you ask
yeah.
anybody that grew up in the early 2000s, what was the rock band from that era? It's always Linkin Park. They were able to do things, and even to this day, and I know with the passing of Chester there's going to be a void that is never going to be filled, because Chester was special. his
He
voice
was.
his voice, his writing, his delivery, which the lead singer that they have right now, she's great, she's amazing, she's phenomenal, and I get it, it's different. She's not terrible. People are saying that she's bad, it's awful, blah 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 blah. It's not the same. It's never going to be the same. Stop judging Linkin Park as they were before, because aside from name, it was Chester and everybody else. So they're going in a different direction. They sound amazing. I actually am going to miss their concert, because they're here in Texas, and I'm sad about it. But this group will be remembered all time as one of the best rock groups of a generation, because this was the rock band of my era. Just saying.
Wholeheartedly. If you think early 2000s, I think yeah, there's probably a handful of names you can name. Linkin Park is usually always at the top. I think the only other name I've heard kind of supplant them is like Coldplay. Other than that, it's Linkin
Yeah.
Park.
Yeah.
Number one.
Now, I haven't asked this question, but is there an honorable mention that you did not put on this list? Off the
Hmm.
top of your head, I need one, because I just thought of one, but I want to know if you had one.
Um, this is gonna be a weird one. Um, it is a metal band.
Interesting.
It's a self-titled album. It's Dragon Force, man. You ever heard of Dragon Force?
In passing, yes. Interesting.
The self-titled Dragon Force, right? I've never been a fan of metal. No matter what band people would try to get me to listen to, no matter what band was recommended, I've had friends every era. It never worked, right? The only metal band I was able to get behind was Dragon Force, and I don't know. This is gonna be a jab at them. I don't intend it to be a jab, but the best way I can describe it is they made football metal music. It was metal music I felt like I could be gearing up to go into a game. Uh, I have that Dragon Force in my ear, and it will pump me up because it wasn't more so about the guttural, more you know, the more guttural, throaty type of
Mm.
sounds with the throat. It was more so songs of triumph and victory. Um, and I think that's what encapsulates a lot of Dragon Force's music. They're probably the only metal band who I've gone through and I've listened to a lot of their music. A lot of their music was about triumph and overcoming. Songs like "Through the Fire and the Flames," things like that. It emphasizes, yeah, we're living on hell on earth. It's not cool. It's not fun, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And when it comes to fucking guitar solos and putting on a show, my God, you have an 8-minute song, 4 minutes, 45 seconds of it is a guitar
Guitar
solo.
solo.
You're gonna have me every time. Um, I love Dragon Force. Miguel, shout out to you. He was also the one that got me onto them. Um, Miguel is responsible for a lot of my rock music love. It's between him and my granddad. My granddad supplied me with the guitar at a young age, and Miguel supplied me with the music to really build up upon that foundation. He got me into the Guitar Heroes. He got me into everything. Uh, he's not an album, but an honorable mention to him as well. As far as like my rock bag, my alt bag, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to have that type of bag that I do. But as far as the album is concerned, if you don't like metal, but you like football, you like locker room music, listen to Dragon Force's self-titled album. It's amazing.
All right. Well, mine is a little bit of a different approach. I'm going. There is I call it there is a team, and I call it Team Toxic. The Bryson Tillers, Brent Faiyaz,
Hmm.
but but there's one that to me stands out from all of the rest. The Weekend, House of
Mm.
Balloons. House.
Mm.
If 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 I could just say the perfect album in terms of construction, vocals, melodies, beats, song placement, song quantity, House
Yes.
of Balloons is the perfect album. Literally, it is the anime with just one season. You get in, you get out, you enjoy it. It is 9 tracks of just straight toxic fire. This was my introduction to the weekend. That sound, that wave, that synth, that vocal style, this album is perfect. There's no skips. There's again
None.
9 tracks, 9 tracks of just gold. That's it. You want to get in, get out. Somebody that can sing, somebody that puts you in a mood, somebody that puts you in a vibe. You smoke, you drink, you have a cigar, you have a bottle of wine, whatever you want to do, just sit down, listen to this album, and go. What you need, the morning, coming down, like that. That album is perfection. It didn't make my
Wicked
list.
Games. Ooh.
Oof, it didn't make my list because I was going with one R&B album, and I prefer Chris Brown over The Weekend, and I wanted to show Chris Brown that love because he keeps getting blackballed. But The Weekend is King Toxic. He is fire. He is. This album is goaded. This is his
Goated.
goaded album, and so that's my honorable
I,
mention.
I think the trilogy in general is very understated. How good it was. People talk about Brent. You said Brent and Bryson. I don't think they compare to that era of the weekend. I don't.
No.
He was in a different type of fucking bag. Uh, and it's like the women felt it, the men felt it. It just hit. No misses. Uh, Now, some people might say the weekend's better now. I'm not sure if I agree. I think singing ability, all of that stuff, maybe sure, but as far as the subject matter, he had it. Uh, R&B music is meant to make you feel something, and unfortunately, he was making us feel like we were toxic pieces of shit, man. It
One
is what it is.
100%, 100%. He was just on that wavelength, and now unfortunately, that what comes with a lot of mainstream success, that they kind of, I mean, it just kind of happens. You lose a little bit of your core audience. That's why I kind of appreciate, not kind of, that's why I really appreciate people like Tyler, because no matter how successful he gets, he doesn't lose himself. And I think the weekend, with the whole transformation, the all the, it's almost Shakespearean, like this wasn't what we kind of fell in love with. Maybe, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you can attribute it to the evolution of an artist. Sure, have at it. But this is, nah. We're here for toxicity. We're here to not feel any remorse. We're here to just be like, yeah, we're dirt bags. Oh well.
Live with it. Nah, for sure. I don't know. It might just be something that comes along with success. You feel like you got to change your bag up. I feel like that was R&B Abel at his absolute best, though. I'm kind of sad he's kind of more of a pop star now, and he doesn't really tap into that too much. But like I said, maybe it's the fame, evolution as an artist, whatever comes with it. I'm happy Abel. I'm never gonna be mad that people are feeding their families and eating good, but Abel, just one time take us back. Just
Yes.
once.
Yeah, we need it. Well, wow. I just saw we were here for 2.5 hours. Miles, I will have to say, I love talking to you about music, bro. I'm just glad that I have somebody that appreciates music the way I do in our group, man.
Yeah, not for sure. I felt like during the course of the Kendrick beef and everything, I was like, it's just me and Santo against the world. These other
Yeah.
guys don't really care too much. But we were every step of the way we followed through. And what I like most about you is that you said you're like the moral guy, like in your family, things like that. I really appreciate that. I like people who are very grounded, right? And realistic in how they approach and judge things, right? Yeah, we can like things, we can have our own biases, they all exist, but we can also recognize real and we know what is and what isn't. And I also appreciate how I always appreciate how you're impartial. It never feels like you're trying to toe a line or push an agenda. You're just saying what you really feel, and what you really feel also happens to be objective. So I can appreciate that. And I always have fun talking music without you. With you, I mean, because it's never gonna be a BSing competition or like just nonsensical. Um, you're gonna give me that real, and I like to give the real, so I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Well, guys, this was the first installment of this series, Talking Top Tens. If you guys liked it, I ask you that you please just take 10 seconds, slap the like button just one time. Don't do it twice, hit it once. Drop a comment of what you would like to see going forward, and let us know if you enjoy it. And also, we just want to thank you for being one of our members, because we really appreciate your support. And without y'all, we wouldn't be here. With that being said, thank you again for being a member of the B.S.S community. We will see you in the Discord, and peace.